Sports at Sic'Em365.com. Recruiting analyst Grayson Grundhoefer joins us now. Grayson, you have been out at Baylor practice this week, and you can't glean much from what they let you see. But what are the things that have jumped out at you on the surface? Because that's really all we get to see when you're at practice is kind of the surface level what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest things that I kind of take away from it are kind of the cohesiveness of kind of just the entire coaching staff and the players. I mean, it just seems like everyone is on the same page. And I think when that happens, that's a really good thing. That's a team that's getting ready to try to go repeat as Big 12 champs. So that cohesiveness has been really cool to see. It seems like they're all focused and ready to try to accomplish the same goal. I would also say, I think the depth, especially on the offensive and defensive lines, has been really apparent. And I think a lot of that starts with recruiting, but also a lot of it is from development and just having a lot of really good older guys as well. But you look at the young guys and you go, man, I can see why they, wanted him in their, certain classes, because they're just so big and they fit the athletic profile that the Baylor staff wants. And when you have a bunch of guys like that who are athletic and big and strong, that leads to really good things. And I think Baylor was really happy with how they kind of dominated in the trenches a year ago. And I think they're going to be even better at that on the offensive and defensive lines for next year. It's an exciting time, I think, for the program. It seems like everyone's really excited. So those have been some of my main kind of takeaways, just kind of on the outside looking in. I think we've also seen some position changes as well. Looking at Al Walcott potentially moving to the star position after being really, really good at cornerback a year ago. Lorando Johnson, who played star last year, playing some cornerback in the fall as well. So those position changes, I think, have been really intriguing as well.
Grayson, here we are about 3 weeks out from the start of the season at this point. We kind of know what the storylines have been, but has there been anything, I guess, answered that you were curious about maybe a couple weeks ago now that practice have gotten underway that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think that our assumption that Baylor is going to be really good up front, I think, is the first area. I think that's just kind of the obvious one, just how deep they truly are. I would also say, I think Blake Shapen is another kind of area that I've had my questions answered, because coming into fall camp, I know Blake won the quarterback battle against Gary in the spring, but I think we all kind of sat back and went, he played really good in the Big 12 championship game. But he hasn't played a ton. Is he really going to come in, be a leader, and just kind of take over the quarterback room immediately, or is this going to be a learning curve? He's still a young guy. But I think from what I've seen in fall camp, I see a guy that's pretty locked in, pretty focused on the task at hand. And he just seems like a very talented individual who's very excited and ready to go for the season. And he seems calm and collected, while also being very talented and doing the things on the field that I think we all saw in the spring. So he's another one that's been a question that's been answered for me, is that I really think Baylor's in good hands offensively with him at quarterback. And I think there's a huge upgrade there from a season ago.
All right, fill in the blank here. Baylor will win most of their games if Squirrel Williams gets X number of touches a game.
X number of touches. And they'll win most of their games. Wow, that's actually a really tough question, because I don't know that touches for Squirrel are going to dictate whether they win games or not. But I guess I would probably put the number right around, 12 to 15. So how about we go on the high side? How about 15? If he gets 15 touches a game and he's able to last throughout the entire season, I think Baylor is going to be really, really tough to beat in those games, just because he's so dynamic when he's been healthy. It's all about being healthy and being durable throughout the season. So we'll see if he can do that. But I'll put it at 15.
Grayson, where are we in terms of recruiting right now? Baylor obviously got a local commit just a few days ago, but they're well over 20 now at this point. Not a lot of, I'm sure they've got some wiggle room, but it's not like they can sign as many as they want to. So there's, they got to be careful about how they close it out. But with the season approaching and the season of these recruits approaching and fall camp underway, is recruiting still as hot and heavy, or is it kind of slowed down in your estimation?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely in a period of, to where it's slowed down some. And I think most of the prospects that we've talked about, most of the prospects that have been on Baylor's radar throughout the summer have either committed to Baylor or Baylor's moved on or those guys have committed elsewhere. So it feels like Baylor's in a great spot right now. 24 commits in August, which is a dead period. So they're going to go into the fall with probably 2 to 3 spots available in this class. And I think they want to save those. I think they want those to be used on guys who are going to take visits in the fall. I think the other part of it is I think the staff believes they're going to have a really good season. And if Baylor has a really good season and some other programs don't, you might be able to see Baylor flip some guys or get more competitive with some of the higher end talent guys in the state or outside of the state. And so I think they're going to be smart with these last few spots. I think if you look at how they've built this class, it's very strong on the defensive and offensive lines. They have their quarterback already. They have their running back already. They have a receiver. Their linebackers are pretty set. And so it seems like this class is pretty much all together, at least the base of it. And so now it's about, can you go find, maybe an elite cornerback? Can you go find a difference maker to rush the passer? Can you go find a difference maker at wide receiver? Those are a few of the positions that I'm looking at. But overall, this is going to be about trying to find 2 or 3 best available talent that you can add. And I think a big part of it is Baylor having a really good season. If they can capitalize on this momentum and win, double-digit games again, I think recruits are going to notice and start to pick up on, Dave Aranda's really got something going. This is very sustainable. I also think the offense is another big part of this, in that Baylor last year was not extremely explosive offensively throwing the football. And I think if they can turn that corner this year throwing the football, I think you're going to get on the radar with a lot more of the talented skill position guys in the state for 2023 and also 2024, just kind of looking ahead a little bit. So a lot of work to do, but most of it is on the field work and then just targeting some of those priority guys late.
So do you have any ideas who they might be targeting now?
Yeah, I mean, one name that I kind of brought up on the Bearcast earlier this week, LaGrange cornerback Bravion Rogers just decommitted from Texas A&M, and I kind of feel like, the lean right now is LSU, and that's what a lot of people are saying. They think he's going to end up there, but I would say Baylor's recruited him, really heavily for a while. He was at Baylor's junior day back in January. He's good friends with Jaron Woods, who goes to the same high school as him. He's on the same 7-on-7 team as Austin Novosad and Tarian York. So, I mean, he's got a lot of connections to the Baylor program, and they've been recruiting him really hard. And he's a top 50 player in the entire country, a guy who's an explosive playmaker there at LaGrange. He plays both ways, but he would definitely fit in at cornerback at Baylor, and is a guy that, in my eyes, could play right away because he's just that kind of talent. So he's one name that I've kind of kept an eye on. I've mentioned post outside linebacker Isaiah Crawford, who's committed to Texas Tech. I think he'll probably take an official visit as well. At least that was the plan this summer. So I think he'll probably take one in the fall. So to me, those are 2 guys to definitely keep an eye on, both high 4-star type prospects that are, inside the top 150 in the state. So, in the country. So again, Baylor really focusing on some of these high end targets and maybe trying to flip some guys.
Grayson Grundhoefer, Sic'Em365.com, also on the Bearcast, and, of course, writing on the site every single day, Sic'Em365.com for our premium members. Grayson, thanks for hopping on a day early.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Right. It's Grayson Grundhoefer, Sic'Em365.com. And, from what we've